Sa tanan, good morning Philippines, good morning Iloilo, good morning Western Visayas. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is a very special day because this is one of the events that we are going to have for Pride Month. And I just like to acknowledge very special people amidst us. We have our chancellor. I'm very, very surprised he took the time amidst his busy schedule. Thank you, Sir Clement, for coming over and joining us and joining our discussion. Probably can have insights later during the roundtable discussion. Thank you so much. Also, our UPV community, our faculty, personnel, and staff, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, our UGSAD partners, good morning, everyone. We really appreciate that you're taking the time to celebrate Pride Month with the Gender Development Program of UP Visayas. This is a very special day for us, and no less than a very special person will moderate today's roundtable discussion. May I call on, of course, our very dear partner in the Gender Development Program, Professor Early Sol Gadong, who will moderate the roundtable discussion. Hello, Ma'am Sol.
Ayong aga, Ma'am Monique. Maayong aga sa tanan, nga diri subong.
Ready ka na, Ma'am Sol?
Ang pamangkot, ready na ikaw. Hindi bala? So, nami asadyaton nga mga mga makaupod sa aton nga round table discussion subong nga aga kag nakita ko man nga aton nga mga participants daw ka mga sadyaman. So, sadyahon ta ini nga activity.
Of course, of course. Basta ikaw, ara, no problem, Gid, no? Hindi ako stressed. So, of course, we want to, say belated happy birthday to our moderator, Professor Sol Gadong. Belated happy birthday at 38 years old.
Thank you. Early Sol Gadong, 38 years old. Kung ikaw pa maghambal.
Okay, so of course, let's invite in our discussants this morning, our resource persons. Let me introduce them for everyone's information. Let me start off with a very, very special and dear friend. He is an assistant professor of psychology at the Division of Social Sciences of the University of the Philippines, Tacloban College. He graduated from the same university with a bachelor's degree of Bachelor of Arts, Social Sciences, Psychology, cum laude, di ba? He also holds a master's degree in psychology from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. His research interests include the coming out process among LGBT people, resilience in the context of disasters, and youth issues. He has presented and published works on LGBT psychology and mental health in national and international conferences and journals. He is an associate member of the Psychological Association of the Philippines, or PAP, the founding member of two PAP special interest groups, LGBT Psychology and Mental Health and Psychosocial Support, and member of the PAP Special Interest Group on Teaching Psychology. He is also a member of the Pambansang Samahan sa Psikolohiyang Pilipino. Please help me give a warm welcome to Professor Pierce Tucena.
Hello, good morning everyone. Maupay gid nga aga.
Maupay nga aga.
Feeling Ilonggo rin ako. Magpapanggap akong Ilonggo for today.
Kasi wow, ang cute mo today, Pierce. Ang ganda. Ang ganda ng ating hairstyle today. I love it.
I badly need a haircut. Pero push.
But we're very happy you can join us. We're very happy you can join us. Tacloban is well represented. Di ba? Ayan. We're be very happy.
Nasa Samar ako ngayon.
So, sa Samar. Okay. Buong Visayas represented. Okay.
Sana kayanin ng wifi ko.
Kakayanin. Nandiyan naman si Ma'am Sol to tagasalo.
Magre-rainbow power.
Yes.
Say no ka na.
Okay, let's have as well. Let her join in with us. She is an Ilonggo lesbian photo activist who works for the municipal trial court in the city as a legal officer in the mornings, and her advocacies after hours and weekends. She's one hardworking person. She's the chairperson of Iloilo Pride Team and Secretary General of Gabriela Panay and Guimaras. They have recently launched the book Pagsulat Duag, Queer Youth Narratives of Panay, a collection of stories written during the free creative writing workshops they gave with Hubon Manunulat within the youth communities of Iloilo. She also worked as a producer, audio tech, and technical director for Nagakaangay nga Panapton of none other than Professor Early Salgadong, a short indie film launched at the Southeast Asian Queer Cultural Festival in 2021. And she thinks that serving the people is the paramount goal in organizing. Please help me give a warm welcome, Miss Irish Inoceto.
Nag-mute. Mayong aga sa tanan. Hello po, Ma'am Sol, Ma'am Monique, kay aton nga Chancellor, kay Sir Clement, and also sa co-host, sa guest pag niya isa, sorry. Ano ko ba lang sa trabaho? So, nangangadag ako.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Ma'am Irish, for joining us. You are a very good resource for insights, particularly for advocacy work. That's why it's very important we're going to have this discussion about practices in governance, advocacy work, and education. In the field of governance naman, no, we're represented by none other than the Executive Assistant for LGBT Affairs, organizer of Iloilo Pride Marches from 2016 to 2019. Pag walang pandemic, Diyos ko, mas malaki ang ating Pride March. That would have been like in 2020 and this year. He's a resource person for SOGI and Gender Justice Project, head for the LGBT Dole Tupad project head also for LGBT cash assistance. And he is currently the PESO manager of Iloilo City, promoting safe space employment for LGBT individuals in workplaces. Please, again, help me give a warm welcome to Mr. Gabriel Felix Umadhay. I don't know if he's already nandito na siya.
Kasi ara pa man sa obra.
Basi ara man sa obra, no? Okay, we're very busy people. But of course, this is a very important discussion because oftentimes we neglect, no, or we forget that one of the more powerful strategies to put forward LGBT issues and concerns, no, particularly on equal rights and anti-discrimination and relevant policies, is to have discussions among all aspects or all sectors of the community in governance, in advocacy work, and education. So I'll give it away to you, Professor Gadong. Hopefully, we will encourage also our participants to chime in, no, their insights while the discussions are ongoing, and you can even shoot questions, no, later on after we've completed our slated questions for our resource speakers. So have a productive discussion.
Thank you, Ma'am Monique. Salamat, Gid. Please let me know if Gab has signed on so that we can welcome him into our discussion. First of all, I'm really glad to spend this morning with our wonderful resource speakers, no? Si Sir Pierce kag si Manang Irish. So let's get the ball rolling. As Monique said, no, sa aton nga mga participants inside the Zoom room and on Facebook also, if you have questions or comments, please feel free to use our chat box or the comments section, and then we have SOCMED assistants that will gather these comments and questions para mabasa naton subong. I think Gab is already with us. Maayong aga, Gab.
Hi, ma'am. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Alright.
Alright, so kompleto na ang aton nga roster of resource speakers. Sige, let's start the discussion rolling, no? May ara kita sang first question. You can see it in your screens. From your position or perspective, where are we now? Where do you think are we now in terms of the work towards equality, security, safety, and acceptance of the LGBT community? Who would like to start? Uh, Maybe we can start with peers.
Hello, Sol. Ako ba yung candidate number 1?
Ikaw yung candidate.
Ang hirap ng first question. Top 10 na ba agad?
Oo nga, yan agad yung suggestion. Monique, magtatanong sana ako tungkol sa love life nyo. Yan agad yung...
Akala ko may evening gown
Walang
competition
warm up.
pa.
Walang warm up.
Pero, yeah, but it's a big question. It's a difficult question. Although, to be fair, sinend na rin naman to sa amin. But when I was thinking about this question, personally, mahirap siyang sagutin because I also can't claim that I've been in, the LGBT advocacy for a very long time to be able to compare na parang where we are right now as to, before, for example. But I definitely can say that, we've made steps, gay steps, small steps, big steps even, and these are definitely ways forward, and we're getting there. I can't say that we're already there, but being an optimist, I'd like to say that, I'd like to believe that we're actually getting there. So we usually think of the Philippines, for example, as one of the most, well, at least that's what they say, one of the most LGBT-friendly countries in Asia, or in Southeast Asia at least. No? But we know, if we talk about our own reality here in the country, that those who belong to the LGBTQ community can actually say that might not be that might not necessarily be the case. No? So having said that, I think there is still a lot of work that needs to be done, which is why events like this are also very, very, very welcome. And I'm actually very glad that the two other speakers are not, necessarily from the academy, so that the discussion is not, very academic. Kasi yung ginagalawan ko naman, di ba? Yung sa atin naman is admittedly medyo limited siya to the world of the academy. That's also one of our challenges or limitations, even. Now, how do we go out of, our community, of our gates, so to speak, and spread the good word. But yeah, regarding this question, I'm happy to say that, I'm happy to know that in the Visayas especially, and specifically in Western Visayas, I'm very proud to note na very active yung LGBT organizations. And actually, yun yung isang sinaiinggitan ko sa inyo sa region ninyo. Specifically sa Iloilo, you have a very strong network or a very strong LGBT organization, which is actually not the case sa region namin. And this organization is in a very good position to do more. Plus, you have the ordinance. So, ang galing yung nangyayari sa we have very supportive leaders, not only with what's happening in UP Visayas, of course, but even with the city government, with the provincial government. So, talagang inspiring. So, we're getting there.
So we've made strides, we're getting there, but there's still plenty to do, no? And you've mentioned that the advocacy work is really active here in Iloilo, and that is in no small part, no, to what Irish's team, the Iloilo Pride team, has been doing. So, Irish, would you like to add to
Okay.
the answer?
Sige, I took some notes on the question. We divided it into work towards equality, security, and safety, and acceptance. Basically, with our workforce equality, we know that the Soviet Equality Bill is still pending for the last 2 decades. So we are contented. Not we're not contented at all, but we have been making improvements and developments in other cities and municipalities from no anti-discrimination ordinances in 1994 when the first Pride March started. We now have like 28 ADOS in cities, municipalities, and provinces. In fact, in the city of Iloilo and the province of Iloilo, we have anti-discrimination for the city ordinance, and we also have the provincial anti-discrimination ordinance. We also have the declaration of the second week of June as Pride Week for the province of Iloilo, and we have allocated budget for that. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we could not conduct the necessary or the required activities for the Pride Week. Um, with security and safety, we also have Safe Spaces Act, which covers SOGI, one of the first laws that tackled SOGI, no? And we also have some mechanisms for reporting domestic and family violence in barangays in some cities or in some barangays in Manila. But we still have questions on our safety and security. You remember just a few months ago, Junji and Ebing Mayor
Yeah.
uh, clear hate crimes against our trans siblings. And just a few weeks ago, also, I think that was just last week, uh, lesbians where their hairs were cut. Not only cut, I think kinalbuata sila, which is mutilation. It's a criminal offense in Ampatuan in Mindanao. So we see that yes, we have adults. That's 28 adults in the whole country. That's only protecting around 17% of the population. So a few years ago, it was only 17 adults, which protected 11% of the population. So we're slowly making strides in making our LGBT safe in our communities. But we know that anti-discrimination ordinances are not deterrents for people to discriminate against the LGBT, despite the existence of these adults. We have cases of discrimination happening in the city itself. And the Iloilo Pride team has I have heard reports of this. Unfortunately, it still goes to the complainant that they should file the case. We can only amplify their voices. We can actually put their stories out, but we cannot file cases for them. So it still has to be the implementation should be educating these establishments, these government agencies to uh, be more sensitive about SOGI because everybody has SOGI. Next, isa-isa ko na lang talaga. We have to remember that the first Pride was in 1994 was attended by a few handful people. Now we are reaching in Manila, we have the last Pride March was 77,000. In Iloilo, we started with, as Mama Nika said, 250 participants or 200 participants,
Class activity.
which a class activity. Then we moved on to batch activity with 500 people, and then we have 2,000 people, and the last Pride March was attended by 5,000 people. So we are making strides in visibility, but uh, that's it. It's visibility. How do we convert visibility to making more organizations for the LGBT community, making more unities with wider networks? So aside from visibility, we have to also focus on consolidation. How do we consolidate 77,000 people? How do we put them into an organization that would work to ensure that, well, we can pass the social equality bill, we can educate more people. But I'm happy to say also, hindi lang naman sa Iloilo yung active, yung Pride org. We have actually Visayas Pride. One of the conveners of Visayas Pride was Iloilo Pride team. We have them in Dumaguete, Cebu, and Tacloban. If you notice, plug ko na rin, shameful plugging. Uh, we are going to have the first virtual Visayas Pride, which is VVIP. So it's on June 26th from 2 to 5 p.m. Ma'am Sol is, of course, giving us a performance and also a recognition that the city of Iloilo has gone further than most places. We have, of course, kudos to you, Gab, who's here right now. We have the LGBT executive assistant for LGBT affairs, right? So, what city can boast of that na isang ano din no, executive assistant that works for the LGBT community itself. So, I think we have to consider malayo din naman yung nadating natin, pero we have long ways to go. We have more places to ano no, to open up a safe space for everybody. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Good Irish. No, that was a comprehensive discussion on exactly how far we've gone from the first time we've had Pride March here in the Philippines up to very recently. And I think yes, I think I agree with you when you said that one of the benchmarks really that shows that here in Iloilo, we've made great progress is the presence of an office for LGBTQ affairs, right? And we have Gab with us to tell us more about what that office has done, no, in terms of getting us from that first Pride March. When was that? I think it was in 2016, Gab. Tama, no?
2016, yes, correct. 2016.
Yeah, from 200 something to 5,000 strong. So, sige Gab, would you like to answer the first question that we
Yeah.
had?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity again to share to you our struggles in the community as well as what we have championed already for the past years that we have been present here in Iloilo City. Though no, Ma'am Sol, marami naman talagang efforts na ginagawa dito sa Iloilo City. Before I was placed in City Hall, we have championed so many things. And Irish has comprehensively stated all of those. I'll just like to reiterate more that when we started with our pride movements in Iloilo Pride Team, it was just a coffee conversation of three gay men. And a coffee conversation of three gay men of how can we do pride movements in Iloilo City. While we appreciate that there are daily movements already happening all over Iloilo, it's just that it's not yet organized and it's not yet centralized. And that is where Iloilo Pride Team came in to be an avenue for the pride movements and to be a home for those who wants to be connected with the pride organizations. Our first activity was Sugaylanon. Sugaylanon was just coming out stories. Coming out stories. It was really timely that we had that one. It's because not a lot of Iloilo LGBT advocates are really not out and open to everyone. And it was an opportunity to really say to the world that we are already open to these activations of pride movements, and we have a community to support that one. Further, it moved to an organization of pride activities such as our we had activities for our sisters and brothers of the lesbian butch and lipstick community. We had also activities for Soji talks with LGU partners, and it was a benchmark of communication. It started there. And it really started there that we got to connect with a lot of agencies. We got to connect with a lot of non-government agencies. And from then on, we get to have a wide network of people who trusts us because we are not just more than a dating site. we are not just we are not a sexual activity organization, but we're driven towards a purpose of really putting sustainable solutions for the community. And to move forward, no, talagang we are just thankful for the new administration here in Iloilo City, who is widely open to the opportunities that an LGBT personnel can put forward in the changes of the community. So when Mayor Trenyes was placed into position, we were also established in City Hall. So that was 2019, July 1, 2019. That was my first day of office here in City Hall. And on that day, we had specific changes, and it was surely a struggle because we were always seen as just hosts, as community beneficiaries, as just a keychain to any political campaigns. And we while we acknowledge that, we also made sure that we make a mark in our community. So that is where a lot of changes already came in. I'd like to share to you that we had champions. We had championed already some of ordinances that really will make sure that it make the mark. We had already a revised gender and development code, which includes LGBTQ not just as a definition of terms, but as well as a beneficiary of the services that the GAD services is offering. So, nakalagay dyan sa GAD code natin sa Iloilo City ngayon na when there are abuse cases, GAD services should be able to help and cater these abuse cases. And the GAD discussion should always cater to SOGI talks too, and not just mainly on women empowerment, on women in businesses, women in education. It should be diverse and inclusive. So talagang naka-mandate na siya, at kahit kung sino man umuupo sa mga SOGI natin, sa mga GAD services natin, maintindihan nila na meron na talaga tayong voice kasi na-include na tayo sa GAD service natin. Also, we had our revised HIV code, the HIV bill, that is more catering to the changes kasi meron na tayo noon ng HIV code natin. But we made sure that it's adept to the changes that we have here in Iloilo City. We are opening more clinics. Kaso nga lang, noong 2019, ang dami nating clinics na inopen for HIV testing and for HIV prevention. Kaso nga lang, because of this pandemic, nagsira lahat because we need to center our efforts for COVID-19. But before, we had established already in the district of the city proper. There are two district medical doctors who focus on helping the prevention of HIV here in the city. But now, because of this, they're just realigned. But after this, of course, if ever this pandemic would end very soon, we will be realigning them again to the programs that we have established. Further, I'd like to really share one of our great champions. Kasi the Office of LGBT now is still coterminous. It means that whenever there is a new there will be a new mayor, there will be changes also for this one. But now we are scheduled for the second reading of our Office of LGBT Affairs, which will make sure that this is not just a coterminus, but this will be a permanent possession. Naging mahirap lang siya i-propose kasi it will be requiring budget allocations. And if it's budget allocations, everybody's just sensitive about it, especially that we are experiencing COVID-19 here in Iloilo City. So we're just making sure that we are sensitive also to the responses of the city. But while we are sensitive, we need to make sure that we push through with what we are fighting since the beginning. The Office of LGBT Affairs had been really busy in helping people. We had programs such as Tupad programs, which are giving livelihood opportunities for our parloristas, for freelance makeup artists, for freelance spa therapists who are freelance LGBT community actually, who really depends on everyday activities of their economic activities. And now they have at least a startup kits kahit papaano nakakatulong tayo sa kanilang struggles in this COVID-19 pandemic. And as well as nag-transform kasi si Office of LGBT Affairs. Ngayon, yung ina-handle ni Office of LGBT Affairs are the quarantine facilities. So, my staff are now dedicated to cater for our quarantine facilities, and sila yung mga frontliners, yung mga Becky frontliners natin na talagang nagta-traffic ng mga patients natin. Hindi siya maingay in a sense na talagang hina-highlight natin na LGBT yung mga frontliners natin. It's because there was the thing about it is that we've been always pushing for inclusivity, and inclusivity means being able to blend in and successfully be integrated with the help chain of our government. So I'm happy to be that. I'm happy to be that agent that our LGBT are really active in the help responses of the community. So, pero lastly na lang, no, ngayon talaga, I'm happy lang na because of the efforts that we have been doing, I was placed in a position of PESO, or Public Employment Services Office, or the PESO office, where I now manage the employment activities in Iloilo City. And this is a great opportunity to open up a talk with businesses to provide safe spaces legislation in their businesses, may it be big or small. We just need to make sure that employment activities are safe for persons of diverse SOG. So yun yung sina-champion namin. Hinihimay-himay lang natin. It's because we believe that changes should not happen drastically. It should be slowly integrated, and all of these medyo we are making sure na we make appearances to the business communities already, that I am here and I will make sure that everyone is safe in their jobs when they are persons of diverse SOG.
Thank you, Gab. Thank you. I plenty of good news, no, sa gin-share mo sa amon, in particular ining tupad project. We know that so many members of the community were adversely affected by the pandemic, no? Wala na sang parties, wala na sang events, where many of us usually dira kita nagakuha sa aton nga bread and butter, no? In various capacity. So I'm really glad to hear that there are specific employment opportunities nga gina-offer na para sa aton nga mga members of the LGBTQ community, especially at a time like this. Nag-smile man ako when you mentioned that atong queer women event ato katunik, no, do nakalabay ko to. Tapos
excuse me, ato kita dito.
Ato
kita dito. We were all there. Nick was there. He was speaking. Wala ka naglabay. Nag-party ka there.
But we also had, I remember, Sol, no? We also had Pierce visit us in one of our Pride marches, and he was very, very, like, super happy. He was all over the place. Did you remember that, Pierce?
I forgot kung anong year, pero it was a very fun event. It started at the city campus of UPV, di ba? And then we went around the city. So it was a memorable event.
Second, I think that was the second no? So yeah, I'm really glad to hear all these updates from Gab, because amo to gani hambal ni Irish earlier, no? We cannot just stop at mere visibility. Actions have to be taken to ensure that members of our community are protected, they are provided with the assistance that they need, especially sa time nga ini. So thank you Gab, Pierce, and Irish for sharing those things. Let's go to the next question. Sige. Bago naton basahon ang i-flash ni GDP, pa chill-chillon tagamay, no? Ang aton nga mood para daw hindi kita ma-present anay sa aton nga mga research papers. So, how would you explain to a 7-year-old the importance of the work that you do, no, for the community. Paano naton mapa-understand? I think dira na siya nga level nga daw naga-form na sila sang opinions. I think that was the age nga ginpamangkot ako sang akon nga inaanak nga, mamoy, girlfriend mo babae, di ba babae ka rin? So they're already starting to form these ideas that they never really entertained prior to that, no? So paano, how do you think can we explain kung gaano
May I?
yung
May,
yung ginagawa natin? Irish, would you like to start?
yeah, because my ex and I had children. I mean, she
Yan,
had children.
tapang ex na. Getting interesting now.
Yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
Sige,
we
Irish.
still communicate. Yung first child, she was like 7 years old when I first met her. And then, I mean, we're in a relationship, so it's she can see that we're sweet, we live together, etc. And I'm not her relative and all. So how do we explain that? We just tell her that, well, love is love, and basically at those age they don't really have the concept of hate back. They have this deep-seated discrimination, because discrimination is also nurtured. It's not a natural thing that occurs in children. And now that the first child is 18 years old, tanda ko na. So she's now 18 years old, and she has been in other relationships other than straight relationships. And the second child is now 9 or 10 years old. Um, when she asked me, because I send her photos of me in activities para mag-update back. And then she tells me, I'm proud of you, tita, because she calls me tita. And then she also told me one time na, you're like my mama. Sabi niya, you're like my second mom because you love us, you take care of us, even if you're far, etc. It's really about love, giving them love and showing them that love in whatever form is valid. It doesn't have to be judged because of the differences in gender. I know that there are cases of discrimination that could happen in schools, but they also have to show them that they just have to be strong because they know that, yeah, ang problema kasi sa Pilipinas, we think that it is us, older people, older people, who has the responsibility to always teach them. But they also interact with nature, they also interact with society. Yours is to explain the world to them or to give them the tools for them to understand the world, diba? So basically, they also have a way of understanding the world. If you show them that love can be nurturing, love can be positive, love can be, good for both sexes, for all genders, it would be easier for them to accept. Well, you have a different relationship from what they see on TV, from what they see in school with two heterosexual parents. So, yun lang naman, that's my takeaway from raising two kids and about to raise another kid. So,
Wow.
yeah, because my new jowa has a kid.
May new jowa na. Amo
Yes.
siya kay Irish, pero may pero may mga dapat pa-update ka na, pero may sa
Dapat update lang dapat.
Wala pa na.
New
New
na
jowa.
dito sa discussion ng love life. Okay.
Yes, but because isn't it that we are LGBT because of loving differently from what is
True,
heteronormative.
True.
So, natural lang kami love life. I mean,
Right.
it's not natural that we have love life. Hindi may love life, sorry.
Ang ibang representation natin dito sa room, ayan, si Gab, si Pierce, tumatawa. Love
Wala akong
life.
sinasabi, wala akong minimension. Anyway, so how do we explain it to a 7-year-old kid? Well, we have to treat them as adults also. We treat them with respect, give them the venue to express themselves. And ang sinasabi ko nga, iba nga talaga yung pagpapalaki sa Pilipinas ng mga bata, sa pagpapalaki ng mga bata sa ibang bansa. I'm also thankful for the lessons that I learned from my new jowa about how she raises her kid. Really, she does not filter. Syempre, may mga filter ka nga dapat. Sorry. May mga dapat ka din ng i-filter. Pero yung sa usapin sa love, sa politics, and everything else, that she has to learn because that's the world she's going to be facing after us. So, amo na siyang maintindihan kung nga wala niya ginaano, wala gina overprotect yung bata. Because eventually, at tubangon, hindi niya sa bata, ang issue sa politika, ang issue sa same-sex na relationships, ang issue sa, sa pang-harass, pang-bully. So you just have to be strong.
Right.
Ang mula ng ako niya, take.
Thank you, Gidrish. No, important no, we treat them as adults because we explain to them kung nga amo sini ang ginaagyan naton, no, kung nga importante ini siya. Piers, what about you coming from the field of education and with the studies that you've done, no, regarding the community, paano ayhan paano kaya, no, how do you think can we explain to a 7-year-old the importance of what we are doing for the community?
For me, siguro, it's important also to be clear about what we know and what we don't know, what we're not comfortable with as adults, as parents. Kasi ang nakikita ko usually it's the adults who usually panic, diba, when kids ask this quote unquote difficult questions, diba? And that's what kids do, diba? They are naturally curious and they keep on asking so many things. Tapos tayo yung unang nagpapanik na parang what should I say? I might say the wrong things. Of course, with all of those good intentions din naman, without knowing na kung i-explain lang naman natin, like what Irish said earlier, now, you just explain to them na, well, you love this person, love is love. No? Naiintindihan din naman nila without, over-explaining it, kumbaga, and being so defensive about it. And I think it's also high time for parents to normalize this kind, not only parents but guardians and really adults, to normalize these kinds of conversations, because you will be surprised to know that actually children are smarter than we think they are. We usually tend to underestimate their capacity to understand things. Like, meron akong inaanak na parang nag-Soji 101 na kami, and ako yung mas na-amaze sa kanya, di ba? Na parang sa kanya, it's not a big deal, di ba? Na, yeah, I mean, in-explain mo lang na like, a person can like anyone or not like anyone. And then that's it. That's just the way things go, di ba? Nagigets naman niya. And usually, based on my experience also, talagang yung adult, yung mga friends ko, for example, bigla mag-text or mag-chat, yung anak ko ganito, biglang nag-pop ng ganitong question, what am I supposed to say? And I would always say, well, one is, kalma ka lang. Kasi nga, children are also particularly sensitive in picking up those subtle cues. So kung nakikita nila na you're uncomfortable or medyo alanganin or natatakot ka or worse, nahihiya kang i-explain yung mga ganitong bagay, so what do you expect? These children might also carry these kinds of attitudes with them. So I think it boils down to that, clarifying what we know and what we don't know, and being okay with not knowing and admitting that to children as well. Hindi naman natin kaya.
Thank you, Piers. Very important we normalize conversations about these things, no? We don't treat them as taboo because at the end of the day, yun nga sinasabi mo kanina, no? We are no different than everybody else. I'd like to hear from Gab, no? May pamangkin ka ba? Have you had nieces or nephews or younger cousins? Nagtanong na, Tito, anong work mo? And then, how did you explain it to them?
I had a lot of fair share of children asking that. It's because I was a sped teacher before I became a full-time government employee.
Right,
So
tama.
for 7 years, I've been handling children from elementary until high school, and they've been asking a lot of the same questions. Why do you do that? But why are you into this relationship? Why are men holding hands together? Why are women kissing? These are acquaintances to me already. But for a 7-year-old child, no, I always say that now the closet is not as dark as it was before. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be unique because we are all different from each other. So by the context of the discussion that we let them understand that each is different to each other, they get to really see the picture that you don't need to conform. You need to conform with the values, yes, but you don't necessarily need to be in the straight line always. Sometimes it's good to to go out of the box and see the clearer picture of what's happening. So yun talaga, no, we just need to let them understand that it's you may be different to me, I may be different to you, but that is okay. That is really okay.
Right. Thank you, Gab. And it seems na when questions like this pop up, adults automatically go to thinking about sex. No, when in fact the children doesn't that do not care about these things. So sometimes I think that's one of the reasons why adults panic, because automatically you go into the birds and the bees, or the birds and the birds and the bees discussion, when in fact it shouldn't be so, no. So thanks. I think we have listeners who have children, no, who spend time with young people also, and it's very important that they know how to handle these conversations. So thank you for.
And I'll plug on that.
All
The
right,
Gender
go.
Development Program offers webinars for gender affirmative and responsive parenting. O, diba? Kahit hindi.
Wow, bongga.
Just to promote to all agencies out there who are willing to, help their constituents, we're offering it so that we help each other. No, problems like these need not be problems anymore. Hopefully in the future, no, with people like Irish and Pierce and Gab, and of course you, Sol, no, in the literary scene, offering no resources for children that are gender diverse, no. So I think that's very important as well to also tap. I think one of the strategies, siguro, no, in the Visayas is that we have strong linkages within, and it takes a lot of siguro parang thinking out of the box nga, sabi ni Gab kanina, no, na importante that we have to reach out, because if we remain in our little bubble, our world will just be, ang hirap maghanap ng
Echo
ano,
chambers na lang.
yeah, echo chamber. So it's very important. That's why key people like though our resource persons today are placed in very good positions in the academe, doing research and public service, and in their teaching, Irish in government service, and in her non-government organization work, and Gab now in the position to push, nudge people in the legislation and policymakers. We need to have I think a cooperative and collaborative siguro, no, relationships to make things work for the community. Kasi mahirap siguro in other municipalities or in other cities in other parts of the country. Like what Pierre said earlier, no, always we have conversations like gaano kahirap sa kanila at their end, no. So apart siguro sa leadership, no, just continue pushing on and voting for the right people, I guess.
Very, very
Yeah.
important, no? Magparehistro ka.
Magparehistro, pumili.
These people who make very, very important decisions, no, about how well or how difficult our lives are going to be. Thank you, good Nick. I'm glad to hear about those gender responsive parenting webinars, no? Because that's very important. It has to start at home, no? And when we start talking about these things at home, no, students or children realize that these things are normal. It's okay to talk about them when they go to school, and their own teachers also talk about these things. All the more that mas nagiging open, mas naiintindihan. I think a lot of the stigma that comes comes as attacks to the LGBTQ community really stems from misunderstanding, a lack of knowledge. So if we can get over that panic, I think it will be much easier for the children. Thank you, Nick, and to our three speakers this morning. Punta tayo sa next question, no? I think we will start with Gab for this one. For cities, municipalities, and social institutions, what do you think can they do in their own locality to create an inclusive environment and to empower the LGBTQ community? Gab?
Siguro it begins really with proper representation of people sitting in that position. For years, no, it has always been just a counselor who advocates for this, a person who advocates for that. It's really nice when the person also shares the struggle that the
Right.
community is struggling. A proper really representation kasi it does not translate when you are just a third person. It's really nice when you are really the person also who struggles. Just for example, in my case, no, I really don't let go of the idea of pushing legislations and pushing a lot of activities for the LGBT community, even if I get to be promoted with other possessions, because I see that this is LGBT is not just a program, but it's really my everyday life. And if that picture also is replicated in other LGUs, in other municipalities, by people who believes that they can push through, then there are programs that will be implemented correctly. So if there are proper really representations for the LGUs who have strong commitments to change of the LGBT community, that is really good. And number two, no, we really begin with the basics of the problem, which is discrimination, which is awareness, which are education. All of these should be acknowledged and should be done in a not a really big scale of a program, but at least we are doing something. Sometimes yung actually yung ano ng mga government, yung mga government agencies, bakit hindi sila nagiging participative? Sometimes it's because they get to be overwhelmed by the colors of the rainbows, and maybe if we can introduce it one color at a time lang, yun yung ginagawa namin dito. We don't want to say really that the city hall is all colorful. There are some gray areas pa rin, but we're slowly integrating ourselves to the gray areas of that. So hindi natin kailangan na biglain yung mga leaders natin na ito talaga maggawa na tayo ng Magna Carta for LGBT agad-agad. Hindi naman siya kailangan ganun din. We have to be slowly integrated, and we have to make sure that it's sustainable when we give programs to these people. And finally, siguro we need to have a full-time commitment to these struggles. Kasi pag wala tayong full-time commitment, talagang nakaka-frustrating, especially
That's
when
why
you
wala
are
ka ng love
facing a
life,
lot
ano?
of demands.
May
Yes.
love life ka pa ba?
Ma-home for the agents na lang ako. I said to Mayor, no, sabi ko kay Mayor, talagang Mayor, yung yung goal ko talaga makapaglagay ng home for the aged sa mga kabaklaan at sa mga katomboyan. Sabi niya sa akin, bakit naman? Sabi ko, kasi Mayor, pag tumanda na ako, wala akong pupuntahan. So I make sure na may pupuntahan ako. At saka yung mga kabaklaan friends ko din. Tumawa lang si Mayor sa akin. Pero that's really a really good program where ang daming nakikita natin, no? Ang daming nakikita natin mga kabaklaan na tumulong sa kanilang pamilya when they were younger. Now they're older. Not really a lot of the kids acknowledge that their titas and titos had been very helpful for where they are now. So siguro yun yung mga long-term programs na yun na mailagay natin at mai-conceptualize na mabuti. It has really impact not now but really to the future generations that we are having.
And thank you Gab. Thank you, Gab. Very interesting.
Top 5, Miss Universe. Diba?
Very interesting keywords na pick up ko, integration and sustainability. No, very important na yung efforts natin ay integrated with the many other efforts that we have in the community, and these have to be sustainable. Hindi pwede yung pang today lang, no? We have to think in
or
the
pang Pride Month lang.
Hindi pwedeng, Pride Month lang, no? Every month should be Pride Month.
Yes.
Dapat sana. And again, we go back to the importance of being represented really by people who experience the struggle, no? Parang ano lang yan, people deciding how we about our transportation, hindi naman nag-jeep, no? People deciding who can get pregnant or not, hindi naman, wala namang matres, mga amo sina, no? So yes, these people may have a semblance of what's going on with our lives, with our struggles, but iba pa rin talaga, no? If we have actually very competent individuals who can represent us because they understand firsthand the struggles that we've been going through.
So peers.
The different
Curious
balls.
lang ako, peers.
Love life na naman ba yan?
Hindi. Willing ka bang tumakbo para sa susunod na election dyan sa Tacloban?
Run, peers,
we have
run.
champions like here in Iloilo. It would be nice to know, no, yung scheme of things dyan sa Tacloban or in general sa Samar, no, if meron representation in terms of championing the cause.
Yeah.
Alam ko tatakbo sa track and field. No, ako kasi hindi naman yun yung world ko, yung area ko kumbaga. But when it comes to representation, meron din naman sa Samar, not only in Tacloban, but in the other provinces of Samar. We have 3 provinces kasi Samar Island. In fact, I remember that was a couple of years ago, we invited, I think she was a board member, trans woman, board member ng isang province sa Samar. Tapos in-invite namin siya sa isang event namin sa Pride Week sa Tacloban. She talked about yung kanyang mga initiatives. No? Yun lang yung challenge lang sa amin kasi siguro nga because puro island ang hirap malaman na meron palang mga initiatives from other provinces. No? Unlike, for example, in Iloilo na at least based on how I perceive how I perceive the NGOs in your city or in your province, parang for me, mas mas cohesive, kumbaga. Kaya masabi ko nakakaingit din. And in our experience, yun yung challenge. Parang how do different people, different organizations talk to each other or to each other's representatives? Kasi that's important. And meron namang mga organizations. For example, dito nga sa home province ko, where I am right now, yung isa kong palaging example sa class quiz, yung San Julian Pride, they're only 2 towns away from my hometown. And they've been, their organization has been in existence for a very long time now. Nagsimula sila at San Julian pa yun yung pangalan nila. Eventually naging San Julian Pride. It's very, very active sila. And yung isang gustong-gusto ko sa organization nila, aside from the very active leaders, they're very strategic. And I think that's also one takeaway na pwede nating makuha sa mga ganitong organizations. Yung, di ba yung saying na bloom where you're planted? And then take every opportunity that you can. So sila ang ginagawa nila, very, very strategic. Talagang nag-field sila ng, for example, kailan ba yung last na SK election? Kasi may mga karamihan sa members nila youth eh. So nag-field talaga sila nung candidates because, representation matters. So, and alam natin, iba yung reach, iba yung power pag nandun ka sa position. In fact, I also knew that one of their leaders was actually planning to run for the local election next year. Tapos meron na rin sila several years ago. And I think they're the first municipality, and I'm not sure if so far they're the only municipality in the Philippines na merong anti-discrimination ordinance. Oh, wow. And they're a 4th or 5th class municipality. So maliit lang talaga. Kaya nga yung parang tagline nila pag nag-join sila sa Pride Parade namin sa city, rural and equal. So yun yung parang image nila, which is really true kasi it's really a small town. Iba din naman kasi yung experience nila. Pero ang galing ng kanilang programs. And because very strategic, napapansin sila ng DOH. No? Nasusuportahan yung programs nila, for example, on HIV, on yung pamimigay ng mga free condoms, lubricants. And ngayon dahil sa pandemic, meron na rin silang mga nag-support sa kanila sa kanilang parang COVID care packages sa kanilang members, LGBT members. Not only sa town but they go around sa yung mga baryo-baryo. Talagang pinupuntahan nila yung bibigay sila ng bigas and all of that. So tapos pag COVID, and ito yung isang maganda pa, napaka-intersectional ng approach nila na hindi lang siya COVID lang. Hindi lang namimigay ng face mask or alcohol. Ipapasok na nila yung kanilang HIV advocacy, for example. So meron silang leaflets, magibigay sila ng condoms, ng lubricants, yung buong package, kumbaga, andun. So very strategic. And I think that is very very important. And they're also very particular with building allies. And not necessarily LGBT. No? Like what Gab said earlier, na alam naman natin, hindi naman lahat, we cannot expect everyone to be supportive. It takes a lot of time. Pero yung ginagawa nila, they actually sit in all of this, yung local councils, DRR na mga meeting, yung mga COVID na mga task force, and eventually, nai-invite na sila. Hindi lang yung mga representative ng mga women, ng mga purpose, palagi silang andun. And that's really very important because you bring, your agenda, your voice to the table. And you don't, yung impression ko sa kanila is they don't wait to be invited because they believe that they deserve a spot, a space on the table, so to speak. No? Kaya ang galing nung ganong yung strategy na ginagawa nila.
Thank you. Very very interesting, peers. No, you mentioned about the importance of sense of intersectionality when dealing with these issues because yun na nga madalas members of the community, members of the LGBTQ community, aside from being marginalized because of their SOGI, marginalized them because of their class, may additional marginalization dahil sa kanilang physical disabilities, etc. So it's very important that we look at this from all these aspects also para we get to address the particular root of the problem. Hindi lang siya glossing over yung mangyayari, hindi lang band-aid solution. And yeah, thank you for that. Irish people people have been I was going to say people have been really have this impression that Iloilo City yun na nga, no, is very, very progressive in terms of the LGBTQ movement. And I think we have to thank the Iloilo Pride team for that, no? So ano kaya, what can you tell these other cities, other municipalities, um, what can they do to create an inclusive environment then to empower their LGBTQ community?
Before I answer that question, parang Miss Universe lang. Point is, sususugan ko lang yung sinabi ni Pierce.
Okay,
No?
go
I've
ahead.
met San Julian Pride, and even I am in awe of what they have done for Samar. They are, ano sila calamity stricken, disaster within sila eh. And
Yeah.
they always find this means to uh, give or provide for livelihood projects. They have made clothes into bags. So, ang ganda ng, I've met Ruel Andag, I think. So, he's, oh my God, he's amazing. Ang taas ng level ng horizon ng organizing, and really, he's really an amazing person. And what they do is also help other municipalities create their own pride organization. And that's what we also aim to do. Actually, San Juan Pride is part of Visayas Pride. Kasama ng Leyte and Samar. So, sinama namin din sila. And ito na talaga yung, yung sinasabi natin, we do not thank, you don't have to thank actually Unified Team alone, because we know that the pride organizations, and also the distance that we've traveled towards inclusivity in the city was brought about by the linkages and the networks that we have created within the city of Iloilo itself. So we just have to push for spaces. UNCSAD has been very instrumental in opening the horizon for the Iloilo Pride team. It used to be na hindi naman umuupo yung, of course, kay bago pa man lang kami, ililutay team sa UNCSAD, but because also of our linkage with other gender-based organizations, na-invite kita. Nagpanigalot kita na makasulod sa space na. And then, hindi man to panahon sa una, hindi man na, sige, magpasoji ka mo. Hindi, ginaliwat-liwat sa kada meeting sa UGSAD nga, magpasoji ka mo, gahat kami. Soji, sige na bala, pasoji ka mo bala, daan mo na siya. So, ang aton is to create and empower other communities. So, it's not only strengthening, Iloilo Pride team has been there from the start, but it could only work when it has a wider network, because we can only reach very little people kung kami-kami lang. We started with Gab, Russell, Justin, and Noy, di ba? That's 4 guys, di ba? 4 gay guys. And then, Subong, I'm happy to report, yes, we have 100 and more members, pero hindi mo na tanan aktibo. Ang mas gahulag sa aton ng aton komunidad. Because ang group chat, yes, we're not a dating site. Although, damo, nagapamangkot, pwede ka join sa Pride team, pwede ka basta pwede ko nakakita ka sa forever, oh my God.
Dating sites. Gini mo
Oo, we're no longer we're not a dating site. We were never a dating site. Pero happy ko kay gapalapit sila sa amon. Pero balikan natin. So, creating stronger linkages with other communities. So, this is not only within Iloilo, because what we're envisioning is to create safe spaces not only in the city of Iloilo, but the whole Western Visayas. The whole Visayas man, kiti may alam to sa Luzon sa mga pride organizations. Pero ang aton is, we have to show that Visayan people can also, bisan kahit tugtak-tugtak yung we don't have a really big island area, we can actually create networks. We can share our resources. We can also share good practices. And that's why San Julian actually amazes me. Kasi pumunta talaga sila sa barangay and train those people in the barangay to create their own local ordinances to protect them. And that's what we were trying to do before the pandemic hit us. We were like trying to reach out to Leon, to other communities outside of the city. Pagsulat Duag also has that aim before na we would reach outside Iloilo City for amplifying, giving the platform for queer youth narratives. So yes, we conduct these activities during Pride Month. Note na lang, we didn't have this venue before, right? Who would have thought nga ako, si Ma'am Sol, si Monique, magkilitan na liwat sa amuning venue after so long. And
Lesbians are hard to come by, you know.
yes, so hard to come by. And to think, we were not out
Kita lang siguro
during
nga tatlong
college.
lesbiana sa bilog ng Western Visayas.
Pero
Kaya
hindi
yan,
ang dami nila.
Monique pala yun siya may nakita nga iba.
Hanap ako ng
Nakilala,
hanap.
taka
Kasi
dami kami.
nagpapahanap si Gab. Sabi ko, wala akong maiisip. Si Irish lang tsaka si Sol. Sabi ko, hindi naman ako
well,
pwedeng mag-like, hello, can you join the whatever? And then, ay, hindi pala siya lesbian or hindi
Tapos
siya out.
Monique
Yun
asked
lang.
me kung may
Yeah.
kilala ako, habal ko man si Irish, kag ikaw.
Walang kita kilala. Oh my God.
So
When it comes to
announcement.
the
So this is an
movement.
announcement, no? Because we're 100 plus strong in this Zoom. Kung sino
Oh,
man
wow.
kayo, we're here to cradle you to outness. O, di ba?
Yes, totoo yan. Ito kasi, we were not out. Tatlo tayo, or ako lang ba ang out ng college. So, this is really
Late
wonderful
bloomer
for me.
ako. Late bloomer si Sol. Super late.
Super late
Last year
bloomer
lang
ka.
ata, di ba? Last month ka lang nag-out.
No, last
Totoo.
week lang po mo.
Last week lang, no?
Pride month.
Last week lang po. 5 months lang po. Anyway, ano na siya
Nalaman ni
pala?
nanay mo. Diyos ko.
Yes, bago lang siya nag-out. So, we have to also understand na this is problematic po na when we think of lesbian, isa lang katao mo din gumanta o duwa lang katao mo din gumanta. Justin has been telling me before because I'm older than most of you, a lot of you, and a lot of you, and I told him that physically that would be impossible for me to travel a lot and to give surgery to a lot of places. Just kakapoy na siya, may trabaho pa ko. So, sabi ko, pwede ko kapahuway? Sabi niya, no ate, because we need a strong, independent lesbian. So, it's really tiring to be the only strong, independent lesbian in the movement, So, what we should really do is
One of
to
the
empower.
three. One
One
of
of
the
the
three.
three. Yes, one of the three, di ba? Kabudlay, i-manage yung schedule, girl. Like, tapos yung tingnan mo kita nga tatlo, isa lang ka venue, dapat yung spread out. yun yung mga problema. Diba? Because pag may event, si Monique, support ako. Pag may event na ako, support sila. Tatlo-tatlo lang tayo support sa nanay, di ba? So, iba naman, pag we have more people who can actually work on the advocacy, who can actually work for equality within the advocacy. Actually, when we talk about creating more inclusive environment, um, I'm one of the co-founders of Visayas Lesbian, Bisexual, Trans Men, Queer Women Network, and we are uh, giving in more spaces for women and trans men because basically in some LGBT networks or organizations, uh, LGBTQ women or LGBTQ men, so it's assigned female at birth, those AFABs, ang hirap na those assigned female at birth don't really have this aggression, this being able to stand up and speak for themselves, being more uh, geared towards organizing. Because ang iba yung pagpapalaki sa assigned female at birth. We are bombarded with ideas na you're not worthy, hanggang bahay ka lang, yung heteronormative patriarchal ideas. So we're trying to dismantle those ideas that a fab, lesbian, bisexual, queer, trans man, you have a space. You should take that space. I mean, you should stand up if you really want to be heard. It's not that we are voiceless. We just need to give them tools to really amplify their own voices, to give them the platform to be able to speak up. So I think those are the ways that we can be more inclusive within the bigger society. What are more marginalized sectors of society, and within the movement itself, what more do we need to do to be more inclusive within ourselves. So, ang daming layers, no, na nagaganap. And ang hirap na tayo lang na naman talaga yung nagpo-push for inclusivity. So we need to expand our networks. We need to expand to bigger communities. So let's not limit it to Iloilo Pride team within Iloilo. Let's make it wider. We get Visayas Pride. Not only Visayas Pride, uh, work with Manila Pride, Metro Manila Pride, or Mindanao Pride, or Southern Tagalog Pride. Let's give everybody a platform. That's why, ang hirap. Ang dami ko sinasabi, merong Pride Connect. It's another group chat.
Hindi
Nagawa siya
na
nung Pride 20. It's a platform for everybody to share their activities, to share. I mean, pag may nakikita kayong statement na marami-raming Pride organizations ang nagsasign, galing yan sa Pride Connect or galing yan sa initiatives ng ASC or ASEAN Survey Caucus, which is also member din yung Iloilo Pride Team. So from locals to citywide to region-wide to national level, nagiging more regional. Meron tayong Asian din na network. So let's not limit our activities. Let's not limit our efforts within our city alone, because we cannot just protect those people in our city. Diba, pag-inclusive lahat. So let's try to protect everybody. And I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
So
Iris.
Gab and Pierce, mag-ano na, shift na kayo, lesbians na kayo para dumami naman kami. And then run for office.
Yes, maragi akong napagkakamalang tomboy. Don't worry, Mamuni.
So, announce na
Pierce,
Mag-transition muna ako.
Mag-transition si
Mag-transition
Pierce.
muna ako. Yes, lesbian trans woman.
panawagan sa how many participants? Wow, more than 100 participants here in the Zoom room, no? And in the institutions and organizations that you represent. Do hindi ko gusto magpate nga tatlo lang kami diri Irish kamunik. Ang lesbiana sa bilog nga Western Visayas, no? I understand that people can actually siguro nami maninga ihambal nga people can go ahead and perform their duties, no, according aligned with their roles in the society, pero kanami man kun kaisa nga hindi lang tsura nyo nga duha ang makita naton sa mga activities nga ini, no? So there are hundreds and thousands of may mga representatives kita dire from government agencies, from the armed forces, from the PNP, no? If it will really help. I think pabalik kita sa ginhambal ni Gab kagina, no? It's very important that we create strong yes with institutions that do not treat us as keychain. Ano to Gab? I like your term kagina. Ano yan, keychain representation.
Yes, the keychain representation are just beneficiaries to the government.
So it's better if we take actual active roles in making policies, in legislation, sabi nga ni Gab, in making in the movement, no, in our community. And personally, I think that for more, so that more people will become more comfortable also with with coming out, with understanding the LGBTQ community, it helps to get rid of misconceptions about the community. And this brings us to my next question for our resource persons and to Monique also. Monique can start maybe nabalanta ka para sadya tatlo lang tadi nga daan. What are the common misconception? What is one, sige, bisan isa lang, kahit isa lang. One common misconception about members of the LGBTQ community that you'd like to address, correct, remove the from the thinking of society. Nick?
daming misconception. Ang daming misconception. Siguro yung yung typical na yung stereotype that the lesbian is always angry. Well, I'm not angry all the time, just stressed.
Hindi ka pirmiya. Mukha naman tayo. Sinugsiling!
Oh, yes. Oh. So or lesbians cannot be feminine. Those are things that or lesbians cannot be what do you call this? Cannot be pushing forward like being nurturing or caring, no, yung typical na yung butch stereotype. And that's where the thing is, no, oftentimes that's like most of the time put off, 'di ba? Because ara na naman may gay la na naman, mailisan na ba? No, but we try to be, kilay is life. There are variations and diverse lesbian groups and types of lesbians, for that matter, across the spectrum. So I guess yung physical most of the time na stereotype, and then the angry stereotype is all the time put forward, and that's kind of a turn off for some groups, no, that they don't want to invite. I remember the time, no, Sol, na sa Sugaylanan ba yon, Gab, when we had that thing na poetry reading.
Okay.
Oo.
And then
parang ganito ba talaga ka-emo ang mga lesbians na parang
palaging
hindi naman parang ang sad and all that, but we are also as colorful as the rest of the colors in the rainbow, di ba? So hindi lang po sa poetry reading at saka sa emo effect ang pang lesbians. Pwede rin po kami sa folk dance, pwede rin sa ang daming pwede, no? Because we're such a diverse group. Ayan.
Right. Thank you, Nick. No, so yun. It will be interesting. That's why it's important to understand SOG really. No, it's not all about sexual orientation. That's something to do with gender identity, gender expression. So thank you, Nick. Not all lesbians are angry all the time, sad all the time, no, or emo all the
Pero yung
time.
yung common, Sol, yung common, kasi usually syempre mas visible sa LGBTQ ang mga gay men, no? So ano yung common stereotypes or common thing that you want to remove na myth na ayaw nyo?
Sige, Pierce would like to say something.
Yung impression that there's always an agenda, or that the gay agenda, whatever that means. Diba? Na parang, for example, when you go into this kind of advocacy work, or when you push for a certain legislation, policy, or whatever, or you teach LGBT psychology, parang a lot of people would think that you're pushing for an agenda, for the gay agenda. Parang ang weird lang na parang, well, what is the gay agenda in the first place? Kasi alam ko lang naman na agenda is, di ba, we all really just want to make people live happy lives and enjoy, equal rights. Yun lang. If that's an agenda, if that's the gay agenda, then you can call it a gay agenda. Diba? Whatever. Pero, kasi parang parang may halo siyang suspicion na parang, are you trying to convert us or bring us to the rainbow side, dark side, or whatever.
To the colorful side.
Yeah, to the colorful side, which is not such a bad thing, I think.
Right.
And more specifically, yung speaking of the gender, yung parang over-sexualization or even hyper-sexualization of LGBTQ people. Na parang yun din, parang siguro yung isang agenda nito is like yung sinasabi ni Irish kanina na tingin ng ibang tao, dating site or dating group yung organization. Well, if dating happens in the organization, well and good, di ba? Masaya naman tayo doon, supportahan natin. Pero hindi naman yun yung main purpose ng organization. Parang ang tingin palagi when it comes to LGBTQ people, especially gay men, there's always, you know, sexual component to whatever it is that you do. Na parang we are so much more than that. No? We are so much more than our sex lives. No? And nakakatawa nga na minsan nakakainis din na halo-halo na lang na parang why are people so obsessed with our sex lives, di ba? Parang
For the
wala
lack
ba kayo
thereof.
wala ba kayo noon?
Or for the lack
Or
thereof.
the lack thereof. With our sex lives or the lack thereof.
It all boils down to that. No? Parang that's a wonderful aspect of our life, or of everybody's lives actually. Pero hindi lang naman yun yung core, di ba? Hindi lang naman yun yung ginagawa natin. There is so much more than that. So, yun siguro yung isang gusto kong correct or wala, if possible.
The over or the hypersexualization of
Yeah.
women, LGBTQ community. I think Gab wants to add something. Go ahead, Gab.
Yes, no, yeah, tama yan, Sir Pierce, yung talagang being sexually promiscuous, yun yung agenda palagi na akala nila we are sexually promiscuous. Actually, lahat naman, ano, it goes to all sexes. You men joke about sex activities, women joke about sex activities, and why can't we joke about sex activities in work? Yung parang ganon, di ba? We are all like that, and it's just that sometimes we're being highlighted for that, and it's tattooed more than the actions that the goodness that we've done. The things that are bad are being tattooed in the society. Pero siguro the stereotype that I'd like to erase is always about the tolerance in the community na parang okay ka na bakla kasi formal ka. Yung parang I only accept you because ito yung mga actions mo. Yung mga tipong ikaw okay ka to represent kasi ganyan ka magdamit and all. So that's why in work, no, I always make sure that I present myself as colorful as possible kasi I don't wanna be boxed in the idea na ay okay si Gab kasi si Gab formal lang yan o kaya naman si Gab talagang he can make sure that there is decency. Well, everyone can make sure of that, no, and still can be wearing wig and still can wear makeup all the time. So talagang ganon yung representation na when you tolerate, you don't totally accept. We need to make sure that the vocabulary is acceptance and not just tolerance in the community. You tolerate because it is only advantage to you. But when you accept, it is both advantages to the LGBT community and to the cisgender community. So, yun yung palaging debate namin ng mga terminologies. Si Mayor has always, ang galing kasi he becomes sensitive now kasi he knows that nandyan ako whenever he speaks na I do agree na siya. Tapos tumataas na yung kilay ko. Tapos yung sabi niya, ay sorry, mali pala yung term ko. At least no, by the mere presence of us in strong agencies, we can make sure that the proper terminologies, proper action towards tolerance and acceptance is being lobbied correctly.
Thank you, Gab. And I think that was a good example that you pointed out. Many people from the much older generations, no, had different views on society. So mangyayari talaga yan, no? Because of the kind of society that they grew up in also, they have this preconceived notions. So yung importante, so when that happens, we take that as opportunities to educate them, to inform them na mali yan, no? Para they become more sensitive about it also, no? I wonder if Irish would like to add anything to what Pierce and have said. Rish?
Yes, I think ang isa ka misconception nga madugang ko lang ang word na sayang. Kanugon. Kasi bakla ka, kanug. Sayang ka kasi bakla ka. Sayang ka kasi lesbian ka. We always say that. We always hear that, no? Hindi laki tungod kay gwapa ka o gwapo ka. yeah, sayang ka. Pero it demeans us that when we are part of the LGBT community, that we do not contribute anymore. I mean, don't we also pay taxes? Don't every time we buy condoms or we buy contraceptives or anything at all, kahit candy pa yan o flowers pa yan para sa mga nililigawan mo, diba nagbabayad ka naman ng tax? Bawat bayad mo sa jeep, ganun eh. And when you say sayang, parang may nawala. I mean, walang nawala, nagdagdag lang. Dumagdag lang yung kulay sa buhay namin. As in, we're no longer living in a black and white or gray world tulad ng background ni Ma'am Sol. But it's very colorful. We have we have more colors in our life. Uh, our diversity makes us not sayang because we live our truth. Isn't that what we all want to do? Just to live the truth of your life, and who doesn't want to be happy? And
Mm.
why don't they want us to be happy? Bakit ba ayaw na ayaw nilang masaya tayo? So wala naman tayong inaapakan tao talaga, di ba? And isa pa yan, okay lang yung bakla ka, okay lang yung lesbian ka, basta wala kang inaapakan tao. Eh bakit? Kung kapitalista ka, nang aapakan naman ng tao, so okay lang yan. Di ba? I mean, it's not our gender that should define who we are, and it's not only gender that defines us. It's
Right.
not only our story that defines us. That's why I always say I'm a lesbian photo activist because it's not only my sexual orientation that defines me. May mga bio notes tayo. It's not only our being gay or being lesbian that defines us. We are, our intersectionality, our being Filipino, our being nationalistic, our being students or teachers, that defines us. And ang isa pa, yung problema is because when we are told that sayang tayo, we tend to overcompensate. We tend to be overachievers, that we have to prove that we are not sayang. But that's so stressful. Diba? Nakaka-stress. And it sets standards sometimes that we could not, even ourselves, we could not reach. Diba? It causes for mental health issues. Diba? Depression. Kaya maraming depression din sa usapin ng LGBT community. Because lahat ng yan na hinaharap mo na yung problema sa pamilya mo kung paano ka tatanggapin, you have to prove yourself pa. Do straight people have to prove themselves because that they're straight? Do they have to come out na, "Hi ma, I'm straight"? But why are we told that we have to come out? I've never actually told my mom I'm a lesbian, but I've introduced her to my exes and my partners. I just brought home girls and we live together. I mean, if
Wow,
it does
girls.
not, I mean,
Plural.
yung mga ex ko,
Girls in the plural sense.
yeah, in the plural sense. I mean, those were my exes. One by one lang.
One by
Okay? So, one by one lang.
Let ka mo
So-
na isagwa one by one.
Ay, later ka to. Anyway, so,
Joke lang.
so ano na siya? So, do we really have to come out? Mga bala, sayang ka, you have to overcompensate. Kakapoy, Abby, na you have to meet these standards you set for yourself, you set, your parents set for you, society sets for you, that they don't really set for straight people, for heterosexual couples. So, if your relationship doesn't work because you're a lesbian, it boils down to because you're a lesbian, not because of the lack of maturity, the lack of how you handle things, etc. And it's difficult for you to also learn from your lessons because you also tell yourself, iniwan ako kasi lesbiana lang ako. Iniwan ako para sa ganito, kahit para sa lalaki pa yan. Kasi lesbiana lang ako. So, that disappointment piles up, drives you to depression. It doesn't help you learn at all from your past. So, yung word talaga na sayang. Because Ma'am Sol is a Palangka awardee. Ma'am Monique is a GDP director. And among other things, Gab is the executive assistant. He works with the mayor. Pierce is also with PAP. What's so sayang about that? But also, we have to recognize that there are those who were not given the same privileges that we were.
Yes.
Diba? Na hindi sila pa eskwela kahit kung mag-lesbiana na sila. Sige, hindi ka na lang mag-eskwela. Ito pa, ano ka na lang, mang arado ka na lang da. But that does not make them sayang.
Mhm.
Pero sinayang sila.
Yeah.
They
Also,
could have been to...
keyword man na to rin siyang hambal mo ang lang, no? The lang in
Oo.
the sentence. Bisan amo ka lang sina, kahit ganyan ka
Oo.
lang, no? Kahit tomboy lang ako. As if
Oo.
automatically parang may minus points ka in the game of,
Yes.
no? So may
Mhm.
that,
Hindi
that's
po kami galit ha. We're just
Hindi kami
passionate.
We're
Hindi
not,
kami
no, I'm not galit. No.
Oo. So,
I'm not
Baka sabihin,
galit.
passionate. It
mga
comes from the heart.
angry lesbians, passionate
Angry-
lesbians.
Passionate.
angry
No.
Passionate lesbians.
Oo, yun.
Naka-hypertension med, so hindi na ako galit.
Same.
Balikan ka. How do you feel when you see lang to yourself?
Yeah.
Di ba pala,
Balik din, no, because I think because Monique mentioned lesbians are angry all the time, no. It seems that that's because they associate this trait with men, no. So it seems women are not supposed to be angry. So when women are angry, that's parang off siya, parang hindi dapat ganyan yung ginagawa. So again, these are things sana na we remove, no, from the things that we think about particular members of the LGBTQ community. And we can start with that, no. We let's not use when referring to members of the queer community, wag nating sabihin kahit ganyan lang siya, kahit bakla lang yan, kahit bakla yan, ganito siya. That it's not a disability, no. Our being queer is not a disability, hindi siya minus points sa amin, hindi siya namin kakulangan. So it will be great if we get to remove that from our psyche, no, yung from our subconscious using that. Thank you. I think with those insights that you shared, our audience here really gained important ideas, no? Kung things na misconceptions lang talaga about the LGBTQ community. So sige, punta tayo sa next question natin. Kanina pa natin pinag-uusapan ang love life, no? So how has your work in the advocacy affected your personal life?
sino masabat ang may love life? Ano wala love life?
No, hindi lang positive, no. Si Gab Balanta, hindi gid man gali dating site ang pag kahit wala nang time, or your family, no.
Yes.
Your family life. How is it? How do you deal now with family members, relatives, friends, who know that you are actively advocating for the community? Has it had any effect at all?
Gab has been very busy for the past
Gab,
year.
sige nga,
Oo,
Gab, would you
Gab.
like to start us
Please
off?
tell us the tips and strategies.
Magmo-mute lang sana ako for this portion. Pero kasi ako yung unang tinawag, sige na nga lang. Sometimes you just need to pray. Pray harder. Pray harder that blessings will come. Charot lang. Ako, I'm thankful naman. I'm in a position wherein ang ganda ko. I'm in a relationship naman.
Okay. Oh, I think, is it just me or nag-freeze ang video ni Gab?
Oo. Nag-pretend free siya para hindi niya ma-elaborate.
Ayun.
Yan
Diba?
yung answer niya.
Tumutol talaga si San Pedro sa akin eh. Sabi niya talaga, wag ka na umeksena.
Continue, Gab. You were saying.
I was saying that I was blessed with a partner who understands my stress level. We're not always cuddling because I'm always busy and I'm always really don't have a time. talagang kahit Saturdays and Sundays nagtatrabaho kasi. And when I'm not working, I'm just sleeping. I'm really just sleeping. But sabi nila, you are all destined to meet someone who will fulfill your soul. And maybe may part of ngayon, no, I'm opening myself to kabigaan and all the kagadgadan ng buhay, so that they can see the spectrum, that it's Gab is not just formal. Don't worry, I'm not a politician, so I don't need to protect my name. Bastusin niyo ko, go lang kasi I don't need to protect my name. I have no I have no pork barrel to protect, so go, bastusin niyo ako. And that in that image, no, in that image, it allowed the men to crawl in.
Grabe, crawl.
Crawl in talaga.
Yes. I have no further statement, Your Honor.
Congratulations, Gab.
We're happy for you, Gab. I asked this because I think people think that what you are doing, no, what the three of you here are doing, advocating for the community, is sadya-sadya lang, no? Masaya lang palagi. People tend to forget that it takes time away from your personal lives, no? So, Pierce, what about you? How has your participation in the advocacy?
Tinatawanan ako ni Monique, oh.
Kamuyong ka da si Monique.
May
Paano
judgment.
i-kick? Sige, Pierce. Go ahead.
Alam mo, parang gusto kong, sana lang magamit ko yung sinabi ni Gab na bastasin niyo ako. Yun lang talaga yun. Naingit ako dun sa sinabi.
Yun talaga yung pinaka-importante.
Yun yung nag-stick sa akin. Sana naman na magamit ko siya one of these days. Sige na, bastasin niyo na. No, but seriously, how was it? Well, ako kasi, sa personal life ko, I'm very introverted kasi I also a very private person. But I think it's more of yung personal growth yung when I became involved in LGBT advocacy, especially teaching LGBT psychology. Again, being a very introverted person, somebody who's very cerebral, likes to think about things and reflect about, why things are the way they are. Yung parang palaging inward, and it has allowed me to reflect on yung my own identity and being also comfortable with it. And I'm at a point in my life when I'm actually not pressured to always explain to people who I am, even to people who are close to me. I'm out actually to my family and close friends, to my students, and to my colleagues. But I don't feel pressured to explain, my soji basically, because I don't think that's a requirement. Basically, I can do that, but I just don't feel like I feel like it's such a burden kung palaging yun yung una mong parang entrada kung magana. Hey, I'm ganito, because I'm so much more than that. But these days, it's really more of reflecting on my position of privilege, so to speak, and how it affects my decisions, my views in life. And kaya nga yung ang ganda nung na-mention kanina ni Irish, so parang I also, and it's a process, and I have to recognize that being in the academe, like what I said earlier, yung challenge naman is it can be such a limiting, and it's a limited world, it can be such a limiting world also. And at the same time, in recognition, I also occupy a position of privilege. Even yung sabi ko kanina na not bothering to explain to people who I am and not even caring what people will have to say about me, that in itself is privilege.
It's a privilege, yes.
Right? Di ba? Kasi not everyone can do that. For many people, palaging at the back of their minds, parang you have to be very careful, and you always have to have a ready answer when people ask you things, 'di ba? Sa parang sa akin, ah ah ang ganda din nung effect in a way because I'd like to believe that it has made me a better person, being more reflective about yung where I am right now and where I want to go compared to where I once was, no. And yeah, and if people like it, then so be it. If they don't like it, cancel lang, like what my shirt says, di ba? So parang yun, because especially with where I am right now, because I identify strongly really as a teacher, yun naman yung parang nakikita kong primary role ko, parang where I can make a contribution. So, of course, I can always help. Kung meron man, matutulungan like ng mga kakilala sa NGO or even government. But I know where I am right now. I'm in UP Visayas at Global. I teach LGBT psychology. I have students. Yun naman talaga yung interact ko basically every day. No? So, yun yung mundong ginagalawan, so to speak. So, I just try to be better at my craft and carry with me that advocacy. And I'm glad also na somehow it works din naman. And then I'm proud to say din naman that some, if not many of my students have also gone to the bright side, to the rainbow side. So because of the work that I do also. So,
And to add to that, single po si Pierce and ready to mingle.
okay lang.
Hindi talaga makapagpigil.
Kailangan bang i-mention it?
Sinabi
Western Visayas yung advertisement mo, Monique. No? Well, yeah, okay.
Ayaw ng LDR.
Ayaw mo ng LDR.
Okay lang.
Hindi naman silang mag-relocate to di ba? Tacloban or the other way around.
But trivia lang ha, I mean, the last relationship I had was actually, from your city. So,
yes,
Iloilo is actually very close to my heart. It's not only the city of love, but it's also the city of heartbreak for me.
Grabe. So ngayon po natin nire-reveal na talagang dating site nga itong program na ito. No, palabas lang nila. Yung ang advocacy char-char lang. Jowa.
Ang goal talaga
sa
is
lahat ng mga
makahanap si
agencies,
Pierce.
tulungan po natin. Sa lahat ng mga agencies, magtulungan tayo.
Pero in fairness ha, Ilonggos are really loving.
That is true.
Totoo talaga yung city of love.
Totoo
Yung city of
talaga.
love.
Wow. Coming from Pierce. Yan. Thank you, Pierce. And before we listen to Irish, I'd like once again to invite all our audience, if you have questions for our resource persons, for our resource speakers here, please feel free to use the chat box. If you have comments on what they said, use the chat box, let us know, babasahin natin mamaya. So far, we have many participants from various places all over Western Visayas. Irish, sige, how has
love life.
Sinabi
advocacy
na
affected
niya.
your love, your blood pressure? Charot.
Oh my God. Okay na kami. Okay, wait. Well, announcement. I'm getting married, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, my advocacy when it comes to my love life, hindi naman kasi talaga dating site yung IPT. But because of my advocacy, I tend to, go into group chats na puro lesbians, puro queer women. And may nanliligaw naman sa akin. So, probably it helped. So, peers learn that you have to be open. Just join a lot of group chats and say that you're open to discovering new horizons. Mga ganang bagay. Just
Or you
open
can
yourself to
email the
love.
Gender and Development Program for Professor Pierce to send a cell phone number and contact details.
May shutdown na. May shutdown na webinar.
Pero I'm lucky enough that the partner that I have now is also an activist. So she supports me in all my other activities to a point na kahit may webinar ako dati, she stays up because we have a 6 hour difference. She's in Paris, gay Paris. So, ang ganda nga niya eh. So, it really works that you have somebody who believes in you, who gives you feedback on your talks, and also pushes you to be better. Because and you want to push yourself to be better just to show na ang mapagandang problema, you have to prove yourself that you're worth it all the time. Pero I'm learning not to do that because we are all valid and worth it. So, ayun. So, basically, pag sa family life naman, because of this advocacy, mas naging open ako sa kanila about my work sa after hours. Like they're very proud of what I have done and where I've been to dahil din sa advocacy uh, and they're very protective of me right now because of the uh, red tagging, red sagging. Pag sa red sagging, dahil sa red sagging, very protective. My cousins, my parents are very protective right now. Um, Even to a point na ako na lang mismo yung nagkukulong sa sarili ko para hindi na sila mag-worry. Kasi ang hirap din naman kasi sa panahon ngayon. So when it comes to love life and family life and the advocacy, when you love other people, when you love the community, I think it's not difficult din naman to love somebody for yourself. But I mean, it depends naman sa atin, di ba? I mean, Pierce is, more introverted. So, depende naman sa kanya. Depende sa kahandaan. Uh, Loving actually is a learning experience. We have to learn a lot from our past experiences, what went wrong. Hindi lang dahil lesbian tayo at bakla tayo, kaya tayo iniwan. You have to assess really what made the difference sa ibang relasyon. I ended up
Dear
uh,
Tita
an
Regine na
11
naman.
year.
Sige, Irish, go ahead.
I ended up a 11-year relationship uh, last 2020. But in my journal, I said, I'm ready for healthier relationships. And that's the manifestation that I wanted for myself. And hindi siya healthy sa umpisa, but nagiging healthy na siya ngayon. Because we are adjusting and we are compromising. And maganda talaga pag may journal. Because you can keep track of her mood swings. Alam mo kung kailan siya, may magkaka-mood swings. So, alam mo kung paano
Hindi po yan
mag-adjust.
lesbian stereotype ang mag-journaling. Si Pierce po ay malakas mag-journaling. I tell you. Ayan. Oo. So,
Diba?
again,
So, yung mag-journal.
ayun. Thank you, Iris.
Oo.
I think we have a question
Yeah,
from
we have
our audience, no?
Sige, Nick, would you like to read that one?
Kasi hindi po pwedeng mag-copy-paste ng chat. Direct message po ito. Is it okay if I read it? I just need po encouragement to make small initiatives to start a gender-inclusive and aware senior high school with a principal that is conservative Protestant and a God office that does not do its function aside from t-shirt printing and free beauty care services.
So, okay. I think she's looking for tips kasi
tips, how to penetrate.
Teacher siya in a senior high school.
Yes.
But the principal is not really that
penetrable.
About the community. So, anong tips yung pwede nating maibigay sa kanya?
Let's
Pierce?
start with Gab. Si Gab muna kasi
Gab.
He's been working as well before sa sa SPED school. So that would be a great start. Yeah.
Yeah, when I started with my job, I was really asked by the owner to keep to tone down my colors and to really watch my actions because parents are very 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 conservative. And from my first year to second year, no, I was really really frustrated that I can't be who I am in even in my social media, even in my personal life, because the parents are really having their surveillances on who you are as a teacher. But how do we penetrate it? No, what we did was really when I began, I really did not have really drastic changes to our school because it's really really conservative. Pero what we did was really to slowly write modules that integrates LGBT, such as yung modules natin ngayon sa senior high. I believe meron ng uh, gender component na kailangan natin na mag-acknowledge ng mga gender diversities. Yung ginawa namin kasi after I taught in sped school for 7 years, I taught college students in UI, also University of Iloilo, for 2 years, and I was also dealing with senior high school students. It was not really written in the modules, no, na yung mga SOGI, pero talagang I found ways to slowly integrate SOGI in all classes, such as in social dimensions. Talagang tinakal ko yung mga ganito. We start with not being aggressive. We start with being not aggressive, that we will push all colors of the rainbow immediately. Maybe slowly introduce concepts and programs little by little, and make sure that it's important. It's important that they acknowledge it too, na importante siya. So, ako yung tip ko talaga is slowly integrate the knowledge components about this one, and pag na-acknowledge nila na importante siya, then make concrete actions na modules, concrete actions na activities. Hindi kailangan mag-Pride March agad-agad. Hindi kailangan mag-march agad kayo, no? Kailangan lang na aware sila, yung mga estudyante mo, aware sila kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng pagiging bakla, ano yung ibig sabihin ng pagiging tomboy, ng transsexual, transgender, na mga ganon. Start with the little questions. And after that, make conversations happen with amongst the students. And after having that, show to the principal na, oy, eto na, without your permission, mom, no, we had steer conversations, but these conversations are healthy. These conversations protect our students. So that's why we want to make sure that we protect them also.
Thank you, Gab. Very important tips, no. Hindi pwedeng biglain ang mga bagay-bagay, no. We can start from our own classroom. Maybe topple down gender norms and then proceed to a more SOGI inclusive na discussion. Pierce, what about you? What can you advise our member of the audience?
Yeah, I agree with what Gab said, no, na parang especially pag ganun yung scenario, ang hirap pag bibiglain mo. So it's important to start small and take it slow. Pero yung gusto ko lang din idagdag is importante din kasi yung makakita ka and be able to build allies within the school if possible. Hindi naman kailangan na for example, if you are pushing for SOGI or LGBTQ na organization, kung yun yung endpoint, hindi naman kailangan na puro LGBTQ students lang. In fact, di ba, the mere fact that we are a minority means na talagang konti lang, most likely doon sa school na yun. Mas marami pa rin yung nag-identify as cisgender, heterosexuals. Diba? So, build allies. No? Para hindi mo naman kasi kailangan solohin yung word. No? Siguro, the fear and the discomfort is also coming from the realization or the feeling na ako lang kasi yung kagawa nito. So, yun. And take every opportunity that you can. So, like what Gab already said. For example, in my case, of course, iba din naman yung setting ko I mean, I teach in UP, di ba? Sa UP, iba din naman yung environment natin. But then I remember even before yung yearly na gender sensitivity training, di ba, by the GDP office. Dati kasi, yung GST, yung di ba, sa atin ano yun, parang requirement yun sa mga new employees or new students.
Yes,
Ngayon nga, required na siya sa promotion, di ba? So, dati naman, yung pag sinabing GST, it's really just apart from, defining what sex, gender is all about, as napasok doon yung mga women's issues, Magna Carta of Women and all, talagang wala talaga doon yung SOGI na component. So, yung ginawa ko doon dati is, ako yung nagbo-volunteer na pwede bang bigyan niyo ako ng parang kahit konting time slot lang.
yes.
Na isingit ko lang yung kahit SOGI 101 lang, parang ganun. And thankfully, supportive din naman yung coordinator. So, yun. So, parang until na naging part na siya ng GST. So, parang palagi na may LGBT or SOGI na but I understand na baka hindi rin siya possible sa ibang organizations, sa ibang schools. So, it's really very important to build allies. Kasi para, again, babalik ako sa sinabi ko na naman kanina na yung parang unang impression ng ibang tao is ako baka may pinupush tong agenda, di ba? Ano na naman yung LGBT or gay agenda dito. So, they need to be able to see what's in it for them. Diba? So, I'm assuming the leaders or the principal also identifies as cisgender, the straight, di ba? So, dapat yung framing din naman natin kasi ng ating mga programs ay hindi lang exclusive for us, for the LGBTQ community. At the end of the day, even if we are advocating for LGBTQ rights, dapat na-highlight pa rin na, diba, lahat naman nagbe-benefit. Diba? When the LGBTQ people are happy, when they are taken care of, when their rights are promoted, protected, lahat naman, even the cisgender heterosexual community, nagbe-benefit din naman, especially for educational institutions. No? Ang DepEd, for example, just ko, di ba, pag problemado yung mga gay teachers nyo, especially for DepEd, na kung buko ang buong DepEd, I tell you, or even the whole educational system, di ba, ang dami kayong LGBT teachers. Many of them are probably not even out, di ba? So, kung problemado sila, di ba, how do you expect them to teach their students well? So, we have to frame it that way as well. Yung effect din sa buong community.
That's right.
I want to add lang just probably siguro there are some administrative parang hurdles that one of our audience members would siguro yung context niya, no. Kasi pag pinupush mo yung gender diverse, gender responsive, gender affirmative, talagang may tendency for some administrators to baka member siya ng, 'di ba? And they don't want to be outed as so, no? So oftentimes one of the tricks of the trade is to invite people from outside your institution to speak for you. You have Gab here, you have Pierce here, you have Irish here, and Sol and other members of the UGSAD Gender Resource Network can help you, no? Because it is much more parang it's distancing, kumbaga, na hindi ka mismo yung nag-initiate, but get somebody from outside the organization to help you and start off from there. I think that's one of yung parang mga strategies na ginagawa natin, no, in based on experience.
Right. Thank you, Nick. And one of our audience members also added, no, na nasa na ba yun? In senior high, there's actually a course, no, understanding culture and society, culture, society, and politics. So, pwedeng i-introduce dito yung gender types so that they can infer and ask questions. This one is from Marie Andre Palion. Another one of our audience members, Roland Democrito, said na DepEd has DepEd Order number 32, series of 2017, Gender Responsive Basic Education Policy. So, this one contains contains guidelines on how the issues of gender equality and introduction to SOGI can be discussed safely in schools. So there is a particular DepEd order pwedeng gamitin ito para ma-inform ang ating school heads, no? Naka-state po doon ang mga mechanisms and other principles even sa curriculum assessment and all levels. Yeah, and additionally, Marie Andre Paleon also said na they teach in a religious school, but you need to put daw a disclaimer before the class topic or discussion. Oo, kasi parang yun na nga, no, sensitive issue yan siya dyan. So,
Yeah, start with Corinthians.
start with your yeah. Sige, Binik. State best. State.
You have another question from an audience
okay.
member? Yeah, go
We
ahead.
can have Irish answer this one. I'm a guidance counselor in a public school. Our attention was brought to the flourishing LGBT community in our campus. We want to bring the advocacy to our LGBT community in the campus. I would like to look for ideas from you kung paano ito gagawin, what activities must be done. So any tips, Irish?
I love the word flourishing.
Flourish, yeah.
I love the word flourishing. Again, we can start with, the SOGI discussions. Since flourishing na sila, then we can open up the school for other discussions on that matter. Also, there are a lot of activities na related din naman sa LGBT community. We have a lot of good practices that we can also provide for. Actually, ayoko nang nagtutubide. Ayoko nang nagtuturo tayo ng paano yung mga activities na yan. I want them to come up with their own activities based on their conditions, based din sa kakayanan nila. We can actually give them just tips like we like us in Pagsulat Duag, we have creative writing workshops for queer youth. Pwede din namang gumawa sila ng kanilang sariling zines about their stories, about their lives. We can also, isa sa mga dating, dating pangarap namin ni Gab, is gumawa ng mobile theater that we can bring, surgery mobile theater that we can bring to schools to teach about surgery and to teach people how to express themselves freely. Mga ganong bagay. So, when it comes to school organizing, it's better that we come up with ideas from them. But there's no walang lacking ng good ideas. Punta lang po kayo sa page namin. Marami tayo yung activities. And we also provide the platform for other organizations. Meron silang mga drag night, video nights. Sa Zoom po yan. They have performances, they have poetry reading. Let's start small, based sa skills and makakaya ng estudyante. We don't have to do pageants right away, like the Mr. And Mix na Ilu Pride dati. So, let's start small so we can nurture really the flourishing LGBT organizations. What we can actually do is provide them with safe space and to ensure that if they do have activities, they will not be discriminated upon. Normal man lang na kisa nga may nga discrimination, kay man wala naton in-educate ang mas malapad na ginalanguyan nila nga community. So we also prepare the community for them. So hindi lang nga sila ang nag-infuse sa input, but that they should be also be giving the community an idea of what it is to be an LGBT youth. And I hope to meet them para nga makahatag din kami sa amon yung mga educational discussion sa ila para nga sila naman mismo makahatag sa community nila.
Ayan, may offering na of service no sa aton nga sa nagtanong. Just feel free to reach out to any of our resource person or to the UPV GDP. They're very ready to help you out. So, malapit nang mag-lunch time. It's almost noon time. Let's wrap this up. Maybe one final message, brief message from each one of our resource person, no, for all the audience members that we have here. Your message, and maybe if you have anything to promote, books, papers, guestings, performances, etc., projects.
Poetry reading.
Poetry
Gab,
reading
meron kang
na
poetry
hindi
reading event.
emo. Gab, let's start with you.
Ayun, si Iloilo City Government is organizing Pride activities for virtually for this month of June. And every day we post our Pride champions to acknowledge the little efforts of Pride leaders here in Iloilo City. Ang galing kasi I said to Mayor nga, no, sabi ko sa kanya, Mayor, thank you for giving this opportunity. Yung pinaka-minimum reach ng post namin talagang nagna-93,000 yung minimum reach. And it reached hundreds of thousands. So meaning hindi lang Iloilo City yung nanonood, kundi ang dami talaga. Ang dami yung mga nanonood na from different provinces. So nagpapasalamat ako kasi ang daming suporta ng mga Pride champions natin. Also, we have activities every Friday. We post new vlogs of Reina Clamor. She's my best friend and she tackles different activities of Iloilo City that promotes LGBT awareness. Further, we have this upcoming on June 30. We have the highlight of all the activities that we have here in Iloilo City. We are inviting you to watch in our official page. It's Office of the LGBT Affairs Iloilo City and the official page of Mayor Jerry P. Peñas. We will be showcasing there lahat-lahat ng mga efforts natin na champion for this whole year. Hindi lang na nitong March, kundi ang mga lahat ng mga little efforts. Ang galing kasi yung mga barangay natin ngayon, no, because of our presence of Office of LGBT Affairs, yung mga barangay natin ngayon nag-organize na sila ng mga small organizations in their community. And it's a really solid effect that we have representations also in the barangay communities. So we are encouraging talaga na yung mga government agencies natin, yung mga partnered audience natin ngayon dito, na we hope that we are not just celebrated, but we are with you. We are with you in all your activities and all your endeavors in your organization. So I challenge you, yung takeaway natin dito is that you don't learn from us, you learn from everybody, not just us. So naway gumawa tayo ng hindi kailangan ng rainbow, hindi kailangan maglagay kayo ng rainbow sa inyong opisina, pero siguro gawa tayo ng isang desk wherein we can really hear out the concerns of your employees, your partners, na anong pwede nating gawin. Hindi kailangan baguhin agad-agad ang sistema, pero at least may baguhin tayo. We acknowledge that there is something ill in the system, and by acknowledging that, we need to be emotionally disturbed about what is happening. So thank you, salamat, no, napakaganda ng mga discussions natin. Sabi ko kay Mayor, mag-a-absent ako ngayon sa COVID meeting kasi may importante akong discussion. So ito yung pinaka-importanting discussion ko today. Thank you for this one.
Thank you, Gab. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gab. Pierce, anything, final message to the audience and yung iyong mga singing guestings.
Well, thank you for the invitation. So I feel like I'm back in Iloilo again. Nakakamiss ang Iloilo actually. So wala naman akong masyadong promote. Maybe myself na lang. Charot.
Your book chapter, dear. Your book chapter. I-promote mo na.
Our book chapter. Siguro parting message na lang. Kasi I noticed participants, maraming mga coming from different offices, organizations. So please support LGBTQ advocacy. You don't have to be LGBTQ. You don't have to identify as LGBTQ to be part of this advocacy. And kung feeling nyo kulang naman kayo sa skills or kakayanan, like what Sol said earlier, andito sila Monique sa Visayas Gender and Development Program Office. Kasi lahat naman di ba ng offices, especially sa government, merong gender program.
In God we trust. In
Yeah,
God we trust.
so
Thanks,
hindi
Dad.
naman yung ibig sabihin straight man lang. So
Mhm.
and many offices have already done that. Yung mga fencing things sa G101, malaking bagay. So we take every opportunity, however small, to support the advocacy. Kasi like what I've already said earlier, if we protect and promote the rights of LGBTQ people, in the long run or at the end of the day, everybody benefits from this. Yun lang naman yung ating advocacy. Magkaroon tayo ng masaya, malaya at mapagpalayang uh, society. Diba? So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
Pierce.
Pride.
Happy Pride. And Irish, final message.
Okay, final message. We have to remember that everyone has Gina. This is not a discussion only about the LGBT community. Pride is not only in June. So please do invite us to all your other talks or all your other platforms because we are willing to listen, to learn, and to also share our insights. Ito lang kasi yung mostly nangyayari. I mean, I'm thankful that now we are, flooded with, I have to push ourselves into spaces. Now, I really have to go back to my planner to check kung ano yung schedule ko. So, with that, June 26th, we have the virtual Visayas Pride. That's from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Facebook pages of Iloilo Pride Team, Bisdak Pride, iSpecs or Illuminates and Specta, and Visayas LGBTQ Network. So that's 2 to 5 p.m. And then we have the 5 p.m. na Tsukchakan. I think kasama ata si Justin. And kasama ka ba doon, Gab? Ikaw ba yung kasama niya doon? I don't know. Tsukchakan with IDs. Yeah, kayo mo dalawa kasama, oh. Nakalimutan niyang i-promote ang self niya. So, Tsukchakan with iLeads at 5 p.m. And then from 6 p.m. and up, we have the Metro Manila Pride. These are all online. These are all virtual. And the call for the Metro Manila Pride would be sulong backlash, samang-samang pag-aaklas ang ating lunas. So, promote natin talaga yan. And then we also have the call for pass the Soja Equality Bill. And I hope, because of this discussion, you will also support the Soja Equality Bill so that it will finally go through the legislation. We have been waiting for so long. This is like 21 years na. So maawa naman po kayo. Bigyan nyo naman po kami ng karapatan na. Okay? And then, next. Ayoko nang banggitin yung iba. Darating din ako sa Siliman. I would be guesting in Siliman 2 p.m. late.
Oops.
Oh, ayan.
Ayan.
Nag-freeze na si Irish. But yeah, those are the slated activities. Before I forget, we also have another activity as our closing activity for the Pride Month celebration yung on June 30th with Professor Neil Quintanar for parents and siblings and family members here who want to understand about the coming out and flourishing of the LGBT identity. Please do check it out. Join in the conversation. We'll be posting the Zoom link on our Facebook page. We also would like to hear, before we let go of everybody else, let's hear from our dear Chancellor if you have some inspiring and colorful words to say. Thank you for staying in, Chancellor.
Go ahead, Chancellor.
Oh, hi. I had to put on the plugs. Hindi, maybe ano lang. Well, just to say that I'm quite happy that we have all of these activities that we've moved so far from the 1970s. I'm in my mid 50s, and I know where we came from. Okay, some of you may not have been born yet, you know, in time, but malayo na yung narating natin, no? And but we have longer distances to travel, and we have to build up the momentum, and at the same time siguro we have to be more sophisticated in our approach to issues. One of the things I always like to say is the struggle would I think have a sharper edge if we can over time acquire the capacity to name the enemy more clearly, no? With greater theoretical clarity. Because ang tendency lang sometimes is to look at people who are doing the overt acts of discrimination, but oftentimes we forget that discrimination is written into the language, no? Everyday language. It's written into the design of our buildings. Pagpasok mo sa building, dalawang CR lang dyan, and the very design of spaces. This is owing to my Lefebvrean orientation. The very design of the buildings normalizes the gender binary, no? It makes it encodes it, no? And at the same time, it embeds the binary into our habits and dispositions. That is why siguro importante sa struggle then is for us to work towards converting some of these spaces. It's not enough to talk about safe spaces. You actually need to talk to be more actively critical of these spaces and how they're put together, no? It's hard to specify in advance what the obstacles are, but I think it's important that we're able to have conversations like this so that we can begin also the process of really identifying, targeting some of these obstacles. No, kasi in the end, no, gender is such a deeply seated, deeply encoded structure, and it's not always something that's apparent, no? So importante gid ang discussion, importante ang critical dialogue, no? So anyway, I'm quite happy that we have this. Looking forward to more activities. I'm hoping that next year, pag sa Pride, and when the pandemic is partially behind us, that we can have more activities, no? Louder and prouder, no? And UP Visayas will always be a launching pad for these things, no? At least that's what I can say, no? While I'm here, no? And we'll make sure that that's not reversed, no? Okay, so yeah. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Salamat sa inyo
Chancellor.
tanan.
Madam
Salamat,
salamat for being with us today. Thank you. And that's a good example of how leadership and making networks work. It's really essential and important to have the support of administration, to have support of legislation, policies, no? So I hope the agencies who are with us this morning are able to get ideas on how to gain momentum later on or in the future for their own respective communities. So with that, Sol, can we bid our audience
thank you so much sa tanan naton nga nangin kaupod for the past 3 hours, no? 3 solid hours of talks, insights, discussions. Again, thank you very much to our resource speakers, Gab, Pierce, Irish, Monique, to the UPVGDP for initiating this activity. I hope nga sa aton nga mga ginistoryahan diri sa buong nga aga imbibe naton ina maintindihan kag magwa siya positively in terms of our actions, no? I hope that we've built better understanding about one another. Thank you so much everyone for joining us sa buong nga aga. Padayon naton nga padaugon ang gugma. No? Nick?
Madamo nga salamat. Please don't forget to fill out the evaluation form that we have in the chat box. Just click on the link. Thank you, Irish. Thank you, Pierce. Thank you, Gab. You're so busy. I'm so sorry for disturbing your morning. Madamo gid nga salamat. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride! Thank
Happy
you. Maraming
Pride!
salamat. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.